Hey everyone, welcome to Sunflower Yoga Works. Today's gentle flow is going to focus on the outer thigh and hip flexor. We'll get started in a child's pose, so go ahead and make your way there whenever you're ready, and I hope you enjoy. Go ahead and make your way all the way down onto your mat, finding your child's pose with your knees wide and toes together, sitting the hips back toward the heels and reaching the fingertips forward so that you start to get a bit of a stretch underneath the shoulder. Release the forehead down onto the mat if that's comfortable, and take the first few moments here at the beginning of our class today to start to bring your awareness to your breath. Deepening your inhales and letting your exhales really release through the mouth. Taking an audible exhalation for our first few breaths. Feeling the energy flow through your body on the inhale. And releasing any stress or tension that you may be feeling on the exhale. Once you have completed 3 to 4 breath cycles with this audible exhale through the mouth, go ahead and shift back to an inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. Engaging your Ujjayi breath if that is something that is in your practice. Constricting the throat slightly on the exhale. Continuing to focus on keeping deep and steady breaths throughout the entirety of today's class. At the end of your next breath cycle, go ahead and walk your hands over to the right side, finding a side body stretch all the way down the left side of the body. Keep the forehead resting on the ground as comfortable. Take 2 full breaths here in this side body stretch. Slowly walking the hands back through the center, we'll switch over to the left. Walking the hands to the left side, feeling a stretch through the right side body as the forehead continues to rest on the ground in front of you. 2 full breaths. Walking the hands back into the center, we'll go ahead and shift the weight forwards, coming to all fours or table pose, starting to warm through the spine with some cat-cows. So on the inhale, drop the belly down, bring the gaze up, and exhale, round through the shoulders, pull the chin to the chest as the belly button hugs in. Continue to alternate between these 2 poses at your own pace for the next few breaths. Adding in any additional movements here that feel good, so maybe swinging the hips from side to side or rolling the head from one shoulder to the other. Continuing a slow, focused breath as we just check in with the body, doing sort of a mental scan and listening in for any points of tension or stress. Using the exhalation to release that tension and finding your own free movement here. Slowly returning to a neutral spine, we'll make our way into seeker pose on the right side by lengthening the right leg out behind us, keeping those right toes down, and starting to gently rock forward and backward, sort of rolling into the ball of the foot here, getting a stretch through the back of that right leg, especially through the calf muscle. Breathing deeply for a few more breaths. Eventually, finding stillness in our seeker pose will work to really lengthen through that right leg. And if it's comfortable to start to bring your gaze around your right shoulder toward that back right heel, go ahead and do so, starting to feel a bit of a stretch through the left side body here as we continue lengthening the right leg. Slowly pulling everything back into table pose. Let's go ahead and sit back to our child's pose, taking the knees wide and toes together. Reach the fingertips out with lots of length in front of you. Maybe rotate the wrist a few times, releasing any tension that's built up in that wrist joint. 2 more breaths here. Making our way back to a table pose, go ahead and take some cat-cows here to reset the spine. Inhaling as the belly drops down for cow, and exhaling as we round through the shoulders for cat. Finding your way back to a neutral spine here in table, let's go ahead and even out our sides with our seeker pose. This time lengthening the left leg back, keeping those toes tucked under. Start to take some small forward and backward motions here, stretching into that left leg, saying hello to the calf muscle on that left side, as well as the ball of the foot. Continue your nice deep breaths. Finding our static seeker pose, we'll go ahead and keep the left leg extended as we reach our gaze around the left side of the body toward the left heel, starting to feel a side body stretch down that right side of the body as we continue to lengthen through the left leg. Take 2 more breaths. Slowly pulling back to center, we'll go ahead and make our way into our first downward facing dog, tucking the toes and lifting the hips, finding a triangle shape in the body. And go ahead and take some free movement here, pedaling the feet, shaking the head yes and no, swinging the hips from side to side. Anything that feels good as we really start to warm into the body and continue to do that mental scan, sending the breath to the areas of the body that need it most. As you find some stillness in your downward facing dog, go ahead and take an inhale as you bring the gaze between the hands and gently walk your feet to the top of your space, finding a forward fold. Once you're there, bring a slight bend to the knees and we'll slowly roll to stand, bringing the arms overhead at the top. Big inhale. And exhale, pull the hands through heart center. On the inhale, bring the arms up. And exhale, fold forwards. Inhale, lift the spine halfway, find a flat back, hug the belly in. And exhale, fold. Bend the knees to plant the hands, and we'll step back to a plank pose, remembering you can always take the knees down here to modify. Big inhale at the top of your plank, and on the exhale, hug the elbows in by the sides, slowly lower down to the belly, chaturanga. Inhale, press into the palms as we lift the chest and shoulders for up dog or cobra. And exhale, press back into your downward facing dog. Option to take child's pose here if you prefer. 1 cleansing breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. On the inhale, bring the gaze between the hands. We'll walk the feet to the top of the mat for a forward fold. Little bend in the knees when you get there, and we'll slowly roll to stand, bringing the arms overhead on the inhale, and exhale, hands through heart center. Inhale, bring the arms up, and exhale, fold forwards. Inhale, lift the spine halfway, flat back, and exhale, fold. Plant the hands and step back to your plank pose of choice, taking a big inhale at the top of the plank, and exhale, lower down, chaturanga. Inhale for up dog or cobra, and exhale to child's pose or downward facing dog. On the inhale, bring the gaze between the hands, step or lightly hop to the top of your mat. Take a slight bend in the knees as we roll to stand, bringing the arms overhead, and exhale, hands through heart center. On the inhale, lift the arms overhead, and exhale, fold forwards. Inhale, lift the spine halfway, flat back, and exhale, fold. Plant the hands, step back to your plank pose, taking a big inhale at the top of the plank, and exhale, lower down, chaturanga. Inhale, lift the chest, up dog or cobra, and exhale to downward facing dog. From here, we'll go ahead and begin our gentle flow. As we inhale, lift the right leg high, bending the knee and opening the hip. Make sure you're still distributing the weight evenly between both hands, shoulders are square to the mat, feeling a twist through the side body and opening through the front of that right leg. One more big inhale here, and on the exhale, pull the right leg through the center, planting the foot in between the hands, finding a low crescent warrior as that back knee comes all the way down, uncurling the toes and using the hands where you need them to lift the chest and shoulders into our low crescent warrior. On your next inhale, take a slight back bend, bringing the gaze up. And then exhale, release both of your hands on the inside of your right leg. We're going to be moving into a lizard pose. You're welcome to step your right foot out closer to the edge of your mat if you'd like, building a little bit more space into the hips here. If your hips are already saying hello to you in this position, you're welcome to keep the weight right where it is on the palms. If you want to take this a little deeper, maybe you're going to start to bend the elbows coming down toward the forearm for a deeper version of lizard pose. Wherever you are, make sure that you're releasing the weight of the head down toward the mat, so there's no tension being held in the head or neck. We'll take 5 slow breaths here in lizard, working to find stillness and relaxation in this pose. At the end of your next breath, begin to bring some weight back into the palms if it's not there already. Taking the right foot back into alignment in a runner's lunge here, one hand on either side of the front foot. Go ahead and tuck your back toes, lift the back knee as we come into our full runner's lunge. And then from here, we're going to step the left foot in halfway, building a pyramid pose. So there should be about 2 feet worth of space in between your front and back leg. All 10 toes are still pointing toward the top of the mat, and you can keep the knees bent as much as you need to here, breathing into the back of that front leg, the right leg, saying hello to the hamstring muscle in our pyramid pose. Really let the weight of the head hang down here, hinging forward at the hips, working to lift the tailbone toward the sky as we start to lengthen more and more into the lower body. If you're feeling confident in your pyramid pose and you want to make this a little bit more challenging, maybe you're going to release your hands up off of the mat, making sure that you're using your core for balance. Bring your hands behind the lower back and interlace the fingers, letting the hands fall out over the head for a nice shoulder stretch here in your pyramid pose. Wherever you are, make sure you're breathing into that right hamstring back of the right leg. We'll take 3 more breaths here. Gently release the hands back down to the mat if they're not there already. We're going to take our left foot and step it back to the back edge of our mat, finding a lunge position once more. And then from this lunge, we'll make our way into a pigeon pose. So I want you to take your right leg all the way down onto the mat in front of you. So your right knee is coming to the right wrist, your right ankle is coming to the left wrist. Position your hips so that they are square to the mat. And walk your left leg a little bit further back behind you, getting a nice deep stretch into the IT band, outer thigh area on that right side. Take a nice deep inhale as the chest is still high, and then exhale, release the upper body forwards into a sleeping pigeon pose. We'll stay here for 5 to 10 breaths, focusing once again on finding stillness, avoiding the urge to fidget, allowing the body to really surrender to this pigeon pose. Try to release all of the tension in your head, neck, and shoulders. Release the crease from between your eyebrows. Release the jaw. And continue to breathe. the end of your next breath, start to bring the weight back into the palms. And we'll transition back into a downward facing dog as we send the right leg back behind us. You're welcome to stay here in downward facing dog, taking any counter stretch of your choice with that right leg. Maybe you want to release down to a child's pose, or maybe you want to take a flow through your vinyasa. Wherever you are, take a few breaths. As we all meet back in our downward facing dog, we'll prepare to take this gentle flow on the other side. So on your next inhale, lift the left leg high, bending the knee and opening the hip. Make sure that both hands are still holding an even amount of weight here. The shoulders are square to the mat, feeling a twist through the side body and an opening through the front side of that left leg. One more big inhale. And on the exhale, pull the left knee through the center, planting the foot in between the hands as we work our way into low crescent warrior. So we're taking the back knee all the way down, uncurling the toes, using the hands wherever you need them to lift the upper body, lengthening the arms overhead, low crescent. On your next inhale, take a slight back bend, bringing the gaze up. And then exhale, release both hands to the inside of that left leg as we prepare for our lizard pose on the second side. Again, you're welcome to walk the left foot out a little bit more toward the edge of your mat if you prefer. And you can either keep the weight here on the palms or begin to make your way down closer to the forearms if that suits you today. Wherever you are, really try to release the weight of the head down toward the mat so there's no tension here in the head and neck. Settle in for the next 5 breaths, using the exhales to release any tension you may be feeling in the body. On your next inhale, slowly start to bring some weight back to the palms. Eventually tucking the back toes, lifting the back knee. We have one hand on either side of the front foot, and we'll prepare for our pyramid pose as we step the right foot in halfway, bending the knees as much as you need to here, making sure that all 10 toes are still pointing toward the top of the mat. We're working on lengthening through the back of that left leg, saying hello to the left hamstring muscle. Really lifting the tailbone up toward the sky as we let the weight of the head hang down. You're welcome to stay here with the hands on the mat for balance. If you want to make this a little bit more challenging, you can use the belly for support as we pull the hands up off of the mat, bringing them behind the lower back and interlacing the fingers, letting the hands hang out overhead for a nice shoulder stretch. Wherever you are, take about 3 more breaths here. Go ahead and release your hands to the mat if they are not there already. We'll step the right foot all the way to the back edge, finding our lunge position once more. From here, we'll transition into our pigeon pose on the left as we bring that left leg all the way down in front of us with the left knee to the left wrist and the left ankle to the right wrist. Shift your right leg back slightly, keeping the hips square to the mat. Feeling that nice deep stretch through the IT band or outer thigh on that left leg. Take a big inhale as the chest is high, and then exhale, walk the hands forward as we release the lower body into sleeping pigeon pose. We'll stay here for the next 5 to 10 breaths, really working to find stillness, avoiding the urge to squirm, remembering that there is always a distinction between pain and stretching, so make sure that you make the adjustments that you need to find a pose that is really going to best suit you today, allowing your breath to travel to the areas of the body that may be feeling a little bit more tight here, releasing the weight of the head forward as much as you can. When you feel you've adequately evened out the sides, start to bring some weight back into the palms. We'll slowly take the left leg back into a downward facing dog, or maybe to a child's pose if that suits you today. You can add in a vinyasa here if you'd like. Taking a few breaths to move however the body needs at this moment. Meeting back in a downward facing dog, we'll go ahead and transition to a seated position down on our mats, however is easiest for you to get there. As you sit tall, we'll prepare to move into some spinal twists, so go ahead and lengthen both of your legs straight out in front of you. And then bend your right knee in. We're going to cross the right leg over the left leg so that your right foot is planted outside of the left knee or thigh. Bring your right arm down beside you, fingertips to the mat. On the inhale, lift the left arm straight up overhead with lots of energy. And then exhale, twist toward your right side as you bring that left arm around your right knee, or maybe even link your left elbow on the outside of the right knee, finding a nice spinal twist with your gaze coming over the back shoulder. Take 3 nice breaths here, sitting tall, engaging the core to keep the spine nice and long. Slowly pull the shoulders back through the center. And we're going to transition into a fire log pose here, still with the right leg on top. So I want you to bend your left knee in so that your left shin is parallel to the edge of your mat. Your right leg is going to stack directly on top of the left leg, looking for a heel to knee and knee to heel connection. Shins are parallel. If that is uncomfortable in your hips or outer thighs, please feel free to take an easy pose, or what I like to call crisscross applesauce, with that right leg in front. In whichever variation of the pose you're in, we'll sit tall with the hands down on either side of us. Take a nice big inhale, and then exhale, walk your hands forward as much as is comfortable as you breathe into the outer thighs and hip flexors. Release the weight of the head forwards, and we'll take about 3 breaths here. Slowly start to walk the hands back in toward the body. We'll gently uncross the legs, lengthening them both out in front of us. Give them a nice shake to release any tension. Evening out our sides, we'll bend the left knee in, crossing that left leg over the right so that the left foot plants outside of the right knee or thigh. Bring your left hand down to the mat beside you, and on the inhale, lift the right arm up nice and high overhead. Exhale, twist to your left, either wrapping that right arm around the left knee or maybe linking the elbow on the outside of the knee joint. Feeling a nice spinal twist here, bringing the gaze over the left shoulder, using the abdominal muscles to keep you sitting nice and tall. 2 more breaths. Nice work. Gently release back to the center. We'll transition to our fire log pose on the other side. So this time we're going to go ahead and bend the right leg in so that the right leg is the bottom of our fire log pose. The right shin is parallel to the edge of the mat. The left leg is stacking directly on top, looking for this heel to knee and knee to heel connection. Again, if this is uncomfortable, you're welcome to take easy pose or crisscross applesauce with that left leg in front. Wherever you are, we have the hands down on either side of the body, sitting nice and tall through the spine. Take a big inhale. And exhale, walk the hands forward. Finding any variation of this pose that will suit you today as we breathe into the outer thighs and hip flexors. Release the weight of the head. 3 breaths. Gently walk the hands back in on either side of the body. We'll uncross the legs, give them one more nice shake here, releasing any tension that you feel. From our seated position, we're going to make our way all the way down onto our backs. I encourage you to use your core to get you there. So turning on your mat however you need, make sure that you have enough space behind you to roll all the way down. And then find a seated position with the legs lengthened in front of you. Bring the arms directly in front of the chest and take a big inhale. On the exhale, roll the spine down onto the mat, one vertebrae at a time, using your belly to keep this as slow and controlled as possible. As the shoulder blades eventually release to the mat, go ahead and hug the knees into the chest, giving them a nice big squeeze, rocking slightly from side to side, massaging that lower back down into the ground. The final pose that we'll take here in today's gentle yoga class is a happy baby pose. So pulling the knees toward the corners of the body, either keeping the grip behind the knees or maybe reaching for the outer edges of the feet. Really work to keep your tailbone and lower back down on the mat here so that you're feeling a stretch through the lower spine. And then maybe you want to play around with lengthening one leg and then the other, rocking from side to side, taking any variation of happy baby pose that feels good for you in these last few moments of class. Once again, doing sort of a mental scan of the body, noticing how you're feeling after our flow, hopefully feeling a little bit more open, particularly through the outer thighs and hip flexors. Begin to even out your sides with any free movement that you've taken. And then go ahead and return the knees to the chest, giving them a nice big squeeze, really hugging in nice and tight with the body, lifting the head up toward the knees, hugging into this tiny, tiny little ball, squeezing all the muscles in, even the muscles in the face are squeezing in as tight as they will go. Take one more big inhale here. And exhale, release everything down onto the mat, finding a final resting pose of your choice. Turning the palms to face the ceiling and gently closing the eyes. We'll take about 90 seconds of Shavasana here. I encourage you to find stillness. Allow yourself to just sink into the mat for these next few moments. At the end of your next breath, slowly start to bring some small movements into the fingers and the toes, the ankles and the wrists, eventually making your way back to a seated position on the mat. No rush to get there. Sitting tall, we'll finish today's class with one final breath together, taking the arms overhead, big inhale. And exhale the hands through heart center. Thank you for joining me for this gentle flow with Sunflower Yoga Works. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.